and welcome to TWF Collision or Hit. Tony Schiavone, here with Jim Ross and with Montel Vertadius Porter, which is kind of crooked. I don't know why, not straight. And today on Rampage or Ram Through, we will learn who the new leadership overseer of the TWF will be. The TWF Board of Overseers, as well as the TWF leadership team, which was headed up by four-sitter Hunter Hearst Helmsley and under four-sitter Jeff Jarrett, along with the TWF oversight team, have been working hard to come up with someone to help Astronema, the overseer of leadership of the toy wrestling gathering, which she was the seat woman of that arm. And I believe today that we do have the new oversight upholder or leadership overseer of the TWF. He'll be named here today, Tony Schiavone says. Well, it's about time, Jim Ross said, that we finally had a breakup between the overseer of leadership. For some time, both the matchmaker and the overseer of leadership have been bonded into one rank held by Astronema since 2021 YL, Jim Ross says. I tell you one thing, Tony and Jim, right now, whoever this is going to be, it has to be big, has to be someone who is going to be in the middle, someone who can stand up to heel wrestlers, someone who can deal with hirelings that aren't happy, someone who isn't frightened of getting their hands dirty, Montel Vertadius Porter says. Who do you think that would be? We're going to seek out. All right, Astronema says. The meeting between the TWF Board of Overseers, the TWF leadership team, and the TWF oversight team, which I am the seat woman of, we have come up with someone who I can fully put the rank of leadership overseer on, which becomes a new rank of main overseer to TWF. Someone who will be helping me to keep law and oversight here. The TWF, in the behalf of the four-setter Hunter Hearst Helmsley and under four-setter Jeff Jarrett, and the TWF Board of Overseers, the TWF leadership team, and the TWF oversight team, please help me in welcoming John Bradshaw Lakefield. Thank you, Astronema. Thank you, Ecliptor. Well, John Bradshaw Lakefield, I truly think that you will do great as the leadership overseer, or also known as the main overseer of the TWF. We'll leave you to it. Yes, I think you'll do good, John Bradshaw Lakefield, formerly Dustin Hawk Bradshaw, formerly Bradshaw, whatever you want to do. I think you'll do really great. Thank you, Astronema. Thank you, Ecliptor. Thank you so much and I want to say thank you to the TWF Board of Overseers, the TWF leadership team, the TWF oversight team, and to the four-setter of the TWF, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and under four-setter TWF Jeff Jarrett, for naming me. As you know, James E. Cornette was filling in until someone could truly be chosen. There's a lot of bullshit going on here in the toy wrestling gathering, and I'm sorry, forgive my English, but that's what it is. First, we have Medusa beating up on Seth Rollins last month. It happened on NXT. And then she throws Seth Rollins out of the ring. He's out in the healing house. We don't know when he's coming back. Then Drew McIntyre last week, beats up on CM Punk once again on NXT. And he's thrown out. I am telling you right now, Drew McIntyre and Medusa, you both will have to deal with law and setup. And I'm not going to go crazy like Ross Perrier did after the kingdom was overthrown and Frankish land became a folkreich. I'm not going to go crazy like Napoleon Bonaparte did when the folkreich was overthrown for the Kaiserdom, which got overthrown for the kingdom, for the Kaiserdom, for the kingdom, for the folkreich for the 2nd time, for the Kaiserdom for the last time, then the folkreich again, a speakership and a folkreich. I'm not going like that. I'm not going to say there's the folks and then the foe of the folks, alright? Drew McIntyre, Medusa, you two, shit. You two, I need to see you out here now. And someone kindly pick me up. I hate wakefulness. Well, here comes Drew McIntyre coming to the ring now. You got the bloody gall to call me out here and scathe me for taking out CM Punk, who's been fucking with me ever since he came back to WWE last year. He's been at TWF for years. He's been fucking with me. And I got even on him. You want to say that I'm guilty of beating the shit out of him. Yes, I do want to say you're guilty of beating the shit out of him, because everyone saw it. Everyone watching the TWF upload saw you beat up on Drew McIntyre, which makes you guilty of beating the shit out of him. You had blood on your hands. You most likely had and I want to think that after you had blood on your hands, a fat lip, a black eye, I too want to think that you were that shithead. And who knows? Who knows what woundings you've done to him. Now, what I'm going to do here, Drew McIntyre, is I will say that CM Punk and you have not gotten along. You both started shit with each other when he came back to WWE last year from his AEW run. But he's been in TWF for years. Like him or not, you had no right to beat the shit out of him. And Medusa, I need you out here too. You want me out here? Medusa, you're guilty of the same thing Drew McIntyre is guilty of. Only you're 10 times worse than he is. You're as bad as he is because you beat up Seth Rollins. And I also think you were the shithead that did it. So here's what we're going to do. Yeah, you could be fired. You could have to yield a fee. You could be sent home being yielded. But I think that that would not be teaching you anything. So here today on Collision or Hit, we will see Medusa fight Drew McIntyre. And we'll see if Medusa and Drew McIntyre love beating the shit out of each other though. And while each other is doing it, maybe you both will think about what CM Punk and Seth Rollins went through. Because I hardly doubt you both are going to, because I don't know if you two want to beat each other up. I don't give two shits about you, John Bradshaw Lakefield. You haven't wrestled since 2009, YL, when you lost to Rey Mysterio at that year's WrestleMania. Fuck. And Medusa says, I don't care about you, John Bradshaw Lakefield, because what have you ever done? I am the leadership overseer, the main overseer to TWF. You will onlook me, and I won the WWE heavyweight winnings and held it from the end of 2004 while into early 2005 YL. and I was the longest warding WWE heavyweight fighter on SmackDown at that time. Get in the ring now. Well, we do understand now. We know we do got law and set up here in the toy wrestling gathering now. Ding ding. Well, Seth Rollins says, Tony Schiavone said, Drew McIntyre going after Medusa here. Medusa was guilty, Claymore kick. Medusa was guilty of beating up Seth Rollins, and Drew McIntyre was guilty of beating up on CM Punk. Well, Jim Ross said John Bradshaw Layfield, it wasn't the first time he ever was a leader. He was the Friedif main overseer of NXT starting from the end of 2023 between FYL to 2004 between FYL. He took over for Dusty Rhodes and was taken over for Steven Regal. So you truly believe that he cannot do it? Jim Ross said. Montel Vitatius Porter says, I don't know really why Drew McIntyre and Medusa should be handicapped. Medusa, she was only making a name for herself, and Seth Rollins is in the wrong time and the wrong stead. And CM Punk, he's been fucking with Drew McIntyre ever since he came back to WWE from AEW last year. Let me tell you something right now, Tony Schiavone said. Medusa had no right to beat up Seth Rollins like she did. Drew McIntyre had no right to beat up CM Punk like he did. Medusa knocking down Drew McIntyre with her tail. Medusa got Drew McIntyre almost caught in the rope. And out of the ring goes Drew McIntyre. Jim Ross said, I've seen many wrestlers come and go who think they have the right to beat the shit out of folks and no one should care about and no one can tell them what to do. Scott Steiner did it towards the end of his time in WCW. Brock Lesnar did it in his first run in WWF, WWE, and his 2nd run in WWE. We had Big Van Vader do it during his time in WCW and and kinda, I've seen Steve Austin do it during his WWF WWE run, Jim Ross says. Yeah, don't forget about Hunter S. Helmsley. He was guilty of doing it during his time as a World Heavyweight Fighter in WWE, and Jeff Jarrett was guilty of doing it during his early run in TNAW. Jim Ross said. Montel Vitatius Porter says, so you're saying that Drew McIntyre and Medusa are guilty of Triple H, Hunter S. Helmsley, Jeff Jarrett, Big Van Vader, and Scott Steiner and Brock Lesnar behaviors? Montel Vitatius Porter says, yeah, all those men were guilty of those same things. And Medusa, is getting beat up right now by Drew McIntyre, who should be the TWF heavyweight fighter, but he's not, thanks to CM Punk. Montel Vitatius Porter says, Medusa is about to take her glasses, is about to take those glasses off her eyes. Drew McIntyre just Claymore kicked it down Medusa before it could happen, Tony Schiavone said. Well, Jim Ross said Medusa is breaking oversight here. She is not to shift any wrestler or fighter over Star to Stone, Jim Ross says. Well, Montel Vitatius Porter says, I'm not going to think Drew McIntyre, Medusa are irked. Now they're going to be angered. They're going to be arrested soon. 1, 2, 3. Ding, ding, ding. Here is your winner, Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre and Medusa are not happy with having to wrestle and fight each other here today on Collision or Hit. But we do know that John Bradshaw Layfield, the new leadership overseer of the TWF, the main overseer of the TWF, is come up with law and setup, and if Medusa and Drew McIntyre don't like it, well, that's tough, Tony Schiavone says. I'll tell you one thing right now, Jim Ross says. If Medusa and Drew McIntyre were only irked at John Bradshaw Layfield, now they're going to be angered with him, Jim Ross says. I'll tell you one thing right now, Tony and Jim. There's a long road between being irked and angered and being wretched. And I think they've gone from being irked, angered, to now being wretched, Montel, what Katie Porter says. Alright, we'll take it away now to Bob Locke. Thank you, Tony Schiavone and Jim Ross. I'm going to be talking with the new main overseer of the TWF, John Bradshaw Layfield, also known as the leadership overseer. JBL, so far you have handicapped Drew McIntyre and Medusa. Yeah, I did, because they were both the ones guilty of beating up folks. Drew McIntyre beating up CM Punk, Medusa beating up on Seth Rollins, both of them walking around thinking they can do whatever the hell they want. You got Drew McIntyre's forgiveness. Oh, CM Punk wronged him many times in the past, so that gave him the right to do what he did there. Then you got Medusa saying, oh, I have the right going around beating up folks because she thinks she's making a name for herself. Well, we don't know if Drew McIntyre and Medusa liked wrestling or fighting each other. Well, too bad about that. Are you worried about them being irked or angered or wretched at you? I don't care if they are irked, angered, or wretched at me. They will onlook me, and they will onlook Law and Setup. And me and the leadership, the overseer of leadership, Astronema, we will not let things get out of run and lead here in the toy wrestling gathering. And if Medusa and Drew McIntyre don't like it, well, there's not really a short list of other toy wrestling businesses that they can go to, now can they? Well, that's my talk with John Bradshaw Layfield, formerly Dustin Hawk Bradshaw. Back to you, Tony Schiavone and Jim Ross. Thank you, Bob Locke, for talking with John Bradshaw Layfield here today on Collision or Hit. And that's all the time we got here for Collision or Hit. Tony Schiavone, Jim Ross, and Montel Vertadius Porter. We hope you like Collision or Hit, and we'll see you tomorrow for Monday Night Raw, or Alone Night Raw.